Darina Elizabeth Laracy, born in March 1917, came from a comfortable middle-class family that lived at 42 Highfield Road in Rathgar. In the same month as Darina's birth, her father lost a leg while fighting as a lieutenant in the Royal Irish Regiment in Flanders. Afterwards, he worked as assistant accountant at the General Post Office and became Leinster chess champion. Darina graduated with a first-class degree in history and politics from UCD in 1937, followed by an MA, and then won a scholarship to study for a doctorate at the Sorbonne in 1938. She was in Paris on the day that France and Great Britain declared war on Germany on the 3rd of September 1939. In April 1940, she travelled to Milan to visit her fiancé. She was still there a few weeks later when Hitler invaded Western Europe. Darina's friends and family pleaded with her to return home, but Darina delayed, claiming she did not have enough money for the trip, and found herself trapped in Italy when Mussolini declared war on France and Britain on the 10th of June 1940. Evidently strong-willed and resourceful, she managed to make her way down to Rome, where she found work as an assistant correspondent to an American journalist called John Whittaker. For €1,000 per month, she was put to work summarising Italian press articles in English, looking after correspondence and attending press conferences. The increasingly anti-fascist bent of his articles and his links with the American military attaché meant that Whittaker was asked to leave Italy in early 1941, with the suspicions surrounding him also catching up on Darina. At one stage, Darina was approached by Italians working for the Gestapo, who offered her money to spy on the American news organizations she was working for, as well as by the Italian secret police. Darina maintained that it was her refusal to cooperate with the latter that explained the expulsion order issued against her in spring 1941. Darina was given only a couple of weeks to leave Italy, but the stay of execution was extended thanks to the efforts of the Irish embassy. But her dealings with Ireland's diplomats did not always go so well. At the end of her life, Darina made the unverified and unverifiable claim that the Irish minister or ambassador in Rome at the time diverted money her parents had sent her to clear his own gambling debts. Darina left Rome for Bern in Switzerland on the 22nd of June 1941, the same day that Hitler invaded the Soviet Union. In Bern, she was invited to the British Embassy for a debriefing where she met Jock McCaffrey, ostensibly assistant press attaché at the embassy, but actually in the employ of the Special Operations Executive, the SOE, an organisation charged with sabotage and encouraging subversive activity in occupied Europe. Perhaps a personality clash between a tough ex-seminarian from Glasgow and a South Dublin middle-class sophisticate was inevitable. In any case, Darina and McCaffrey did not hit it off. She later suggested that McCaffrey made a pass at her and, when she refused, prevented her from taking up a position at the Information Ministry in London. Resigned to sitting out the war in Switzerland, Darina found work giving private lessons and writing articles for the London press, but she largely lived the money her parents managed to send her from Dublin. She soon moved to Zurich, ostensibly to undertake research on a book on Italy she had been commissioned to write. She was to stay in that city for most of the next 3 years, during which time she visited James Joyce's widow Nora on at least one occasion. In a Zurich library, Darina met Ignazio Silone, one of Italy's best-known writers. A founding member of the Italian Communist Party, Silone had fled to Switzerland at the end of the 1920s. Invited to tea by Silone, Darina told the Italian that she had read some of his books and offered to assist him in his anti-fascist campaigns. A tense triangular relationship between McCaffrey, Silone and Darina was formed, for Silone at the time was working with McCaffrey at the British Embassy. The relationship would not last. McCaffrey, already on bad terms with Darina, soon became disillusioned with Silone, a difficult character, and preferred to work with younger, more dynamic members of the Italian resistance. Both Darina and Silone were continually spied upon by the Italian secret police, the OVRA, which sent regular reports on their activities back to Rome. The pair were also closely tracked by Swiss intelligence. In June 1942, Darina was stopped at the main railway station in Zurich and held for 4 days before the police were obliged to release her for want of concrete evidence of espionage. 6 months later, it was Silone's turn to be interned for a while for, quote, unauthorised political activities. The Italian secret services also frequently intercepted Darina's correspondence, faithfully translating the long, rambling letters the Irish woman sent to her parents back in Dublin. Darina was under no illusion that her letters were being opened, and so she restricted her references to Silone almost exclusively to the mixed emotions she felt for a strange, much older man, and moans about her hermit existence, living on scant food in a boarding house at 22 Schmelzbergstrasse in Zurich. Confused in her sentiments, but evidently under his spell, Darina followed Silone to Davos, finding work at a local school. By this time, Silone had set to work for the American Allen Dulles, Burn Chief of the Office of Strategic Studies, OSS, forerunner of the Central Intelligence Agency, with Darina acting as a go-between and translator. In October 1944, the OSS organised for Silone and Darina to be flown back to recently liberated Rome, where the two married in a civil ceremony. With Silone in tow, Darina made it back to Dublin for the first time in almost 7 years in 1946, when the Irish Independent wrote that, quote, "With her fair good looks and vivacious manner, she is a striking contrast to her dark and rather melancholy-seeming husband." Silone embarked on a political career in the upper echelons of the Socialist Party and briefly took over responsibility for the socialist daily Avanti, but was soon sidelined. This left him to concentrate on his cultural pursuits, for which he had the ardent support of Darina. She translated his works into English, even completing Severina, a novel Silone left unfinished at his death in 1978. Towards the end of her life, Darina also found herself dealing with her late husband's political legacy, for archival material turned up suggesting that Silone had played a role in the arrest of the Italian Communist Party leadership in 1928. These events occurred many years before Darina knew Silone, but controversy surrounded some of Silone's dealings with the OSS during the war as well. After his death, Darina, while she provided reasonable enough evidence for thinking that Silone was a victim of circumstance, was accused by some of her late husband's most ardent admirers of not being forceful enough in his defence. Darina, who had no children and had long let both her Catholicism and her Irish passport lapse, developed a special fascination for India and Indian mysticism, making several trips to the subcontinent and forming a friendship with Indira Gandhi. Darina Laracy died at her home in Via de Villa Ricotti in Rome in July 2003, with her ashes scattered over the Irish Sea shortly thereafter.